Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today in this video we are going to cover a very important topic in CSS, that is positioning. So positioning is a very important topic if you know about CSS. You should know positioning because it is used to position the elements that we have or the to decide where we want to place our elements. Now there are many advanced features that are there, but positioning is still used in many places. So we are going to talk about what is positioning. We are going to see the types of positioning that we have, the attributes that we have inside those types, and everything that will help you to learn this positioning. So this is basically a crash course for CSS positioning. So make sure you watch the video till the end so that you can get knowledge regarding to positioning. So let's start. So CSS helps you to position your HTML elements. You can put HTML element at whatever location you like using this positioning property. You can specify whether the element you have positioned, it has to be relative or absolute, whatever the values are that we will see based on the parent element. Now when I say parent element, it means the width of your screen. So basically if you see on your screen right now, I have normal random 3 boxes here. I'm going to show you the code, don't worry. So I have normal 3 boxes here, and the parent element of this boxes will be my browser's window screen. Okay, now let's go back to our VS Code. Now here you can see that I have normal HTML code written, and what I've done is I've given a heading, I've created 3 divisions, and I've given them 2 classes. First is block 1, and then I have a similar class for everyone, that is block. Okay, and then I've just written 1 2 3 here. In style sheet, what I've done is first I've given this universal style to remove all the margin and the padding. Then I've given a body, I've styled the body so that it will be in the center, and I've given it a font family and given it a color. Okay, then I have this common class of block where I've given the same properties for every block, that is given it height, width, margin. Display property is an inline block so that it can appear next to each other. Then I've given this 3 blocks, that is block 1 2 3 background color. So this is normal code that you guys already know. I'm expecting that you guys know this much. If you guys don't know, you can pause the video right now and type this code out for yourself so that it will be easier for you to understand when you're learning positioning. So again, I'm taking it a little bit slow here so that you guys can pause it here, and then I'll shift to HTML. Then you can also pause it here, check out the code. I have not written any extra code or any external code. I've just written basic code so that it can save us a lot of time, because if we start typing this out, it will consume 5 minutes, approximately more than that, but it will take our time, and the video length will increase and content will be less. So rather than that, I decided to type this code out earlier only. Now the first property that we're going to talk about in positioning is called as the static property. Okay, so what does this static property mean? So static property is nothing but a default property for every single element. Okay, so even if you don't provide this property to the positioning, it will still be there, because static doesn't mean much. It just means that the element will flow into the page as normally it would. Okay, the only reason you should use it is because if some other positioning got applied to some elements and then you want to make it static, that's the only time you should use static position. So I'll just show you an example. Now we don't have to make any changes in the HTML code. The only changes that we're going to make is in CSS code. So in block 1, let's give it a position of, let's say, static. Okay, and we'll save it. You can see there is no changes. Now let's copy this and add it to other 2 blocks as well. Let's see if there's some change. Let's save it, and you can see there's no change. So static is default value that is there even if you don't give it, and the only reason you should use it is if suppose this element is positioned as has some overriding style. So this element, instead of being here, is on the 3rd place, and you don't want that to happen. So you can just give position static and it will be normally as it would be, it will be presented on your screen. Okay, moving on, the next value that we have is called as relative. Position relative. So what is relative? So this type of positioning is probably the most confusing and misused. What it really means is relative to itself. Okay, now if you put a relative here and save it, you can see that there's no change. It will not have any effect as well, because you have more 4 attributes inside this relative property. You have 4 more properties that you need to use, and those properties would be top, bottom, left and right. Now let's check it out one by one. So let's take top and write 10 rem. Okay, let's write 10 pixels. 10 rem will be too much. So right after writing 10 px, let's check the change. Now you can see these 2 blocks are in line, but this one, yeah, this one's a little bit, it has moved a little bit downwards. Now to see a huge change, let's change it to rem. Here you can see now it has moved completely downwards. So what does that mean? That first its position was here, and now it has moved down from the top a width of, or a height of 10 rem. So what does this top 10 means? It means to move down from the top a size of, or a distance of 10 rem. Similarly, if you have bottom and you set it to 10 rem, let's see. Now you can see it has moved out of the browser window. Okay, so it has moved from the bottom, it has moved up. Okay, then here we have left. It has moved from the left to the right a distance of 10 rem. And again we have right. Let's save it. Now it will move left from the right a size of 10 pixels. Now one more interesting thing that many of the developers don't say, but is you cannot use top and bottom and left and right consequently. Now let me tell you what I'm going to say with this. So I'm using top 10 rem, and let's remove this right one. So it's moved to the bottom from the top, right? Now what if I want to move it a more distance? I have kept this top here, but I want it to move 20 rem. Okay, you see that bottom property will not take into effect. It will not come into effect because we already have top property given to it. And as soon as I remove this top and I save it, now the bottom will work, but that element is gone because it has moved. As I said earlier, parent element is a browser window and it has moved out of this browser window. Okay, again I'll give it again same we have for left. If we move it from left 20 rem, and again if we try to move it right of 10 rem, it won't work. All right, now moving on to the next property that we'll have, and the property is called as absolute. So this is a very powerful type of positioning that allows you to literally place any element exactly where you want it. So here also you have the same attributes such as top, left, bottom and right to set the location. Remember that these values will be relative to the next parent element. So what does it mean by this? Now for our normal relative positioning property, we had the parent element as this entire browser window, but in absolute, the next element, suppose we have this block, suppose let's for example, if we place all of these 3 blocks inside this div and we save it, now the next parent element after the window screen will be this div. Okay, right now I've not put it here because it gets way too complicated for you to understand, so I've just left it out here right now, and we are just going to compare it with the parent element. Okay, now absolute position and elements are, you can even remove elements from the absolute position. An element with this type of positioning is not affected by other positions, and that does not affect the other elements. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that if you apply position absolute, the other positioning properties will not work on that particular element. So let's see what we are talking about. So we'll just add position of absolute. Now again we have values that we need to put, so it won't work unless we have that. Okay, so let's check. Let's remove this again, and we'll remove this position static values from here as well. We'll save it. So now this is our normal block that we had. Now let's add a position of absolute here. Let's save it. What has happened? Our element number 2 has gone. It has disappeared completely. Now why did this happen? Because now we have given it a value of absolute. So the next parent element that we had was number 2. Okay, so it has taken its place. Now what happens if I add, let's say, top of 20 rem here? So now you can see it has left the position, of 2, and now it has moved. Again, what happened? Top 20 rem. So it has moved to the bottom from the top a distance of 20 rem. Now let's check one more thing. Let's add position and absolute to the second block. Now can you guess what will happen? So let's check. Now you can see it has taken over the next parent element. It has moved above that parent element. Okay, that was block number 3. Now again, if you want to do that, what we can do is, now let's make it a little bit more confusing. Now if I've written 20 rem here, can you tell me what will happen now? Will it take over the position of block number 1? Let's check it out. So now you can see 2 has taken over the position of block number 1. Okay, now again, if I add, let's increase it to 30 and let's save it. Now you can see we have 3 blocks one by one. So this is what absolute positioning is. It is a very powerful tool and you can place the element exactly where you want. And I talked about this thing that elements can even be removed. Other elements can be covered. Other elements cannot even be seen if you don't use this absolute property correctly. Okay. So you can try and mess around with this. I'm not going to tell you much because we already saw the top, bottom and everything else. You can just change the values here and see what it does, how it happens. Now you can see it is overlapping here. Okay, so 1 is now over 3. You can also put it like this. Now if you change it to, again, say bottom here, now the 3 of them, all of them will overlap. You can see 1, 2, 3. You can arrange them in whatever way you want it to arrange. Okay, moving on to the next property that we have. Property is called as fixed. A fixed position elements is position relative to the viewport. Now fixed position again takes place according to the browser window. This is the parent element for our fixed. The viewport does not change when the window is scrolled. So a fixed position elements will stay right where when the page is scrolled. So if you apply this property to an element, even when you scroll, the element will stay fixed to that viewport. Okay, now this is my viewport. Even if I scroll down here, nothing will happen because my viewport will still be the same. It will still be this browser window. I'm just scrolling up and down. Okay, this might be used for something like a navigation bar that you want to remain visible throughout how many pages scroll you have, how many times people click anywhere. You want this navigation bar to appear at the top always. So that is where you can use this. So let's check it out again. Let's delete this and let's check if our code is back to normal. Now it is back to normal. So for this fixed position to work, we have got to add a little more few things. So what I'll do is, instead of writing something else, I'll just paste this blocks a few more times so we can scroll through our page. And let's change this name so that we can determine which is which. So I'm just giving them the name of the positioning properties that we've seen. Okay, so I've just changed their names, and you can see positioning, relative positioning, static and absolute, and this is fixed. And last one again we have positioning. So this top one that I have here, this is the one that I'm going to, what we can say, fixed, apply fixed positioning to. So I'll just go here Actually this won't work because again we have this same classes, so if I change it, all around it will change. So let's just do something else. Let's just increase this body's height, let's say 900 px, and let's add it a background color, let's say a different background color that can easily be distinguishable. Yeah, now you can scroll. Let's add a little bit more height. We want to be able to scroll completely. So you can see now we are able to scroll, and now the position that we have is also not visible. But what happens after we add? Let's go here and we'll add to this block, the complete block, we'll add positioning of fixed. Let's save it. Now if we move back, you can see the code breaks. Why is that? Because now if you, I cannot show you right now without changing the property, but all of them have come to one place. Okay, 3 has, all of the 2 of them have disappeared and 3 has come because the property that we used was an incorrect one that we used. We don't have to use it here. Okay, now let's try to use it here. Position, let's say fixed. Let's save it. Now you can see it works first. It works as absolute. It takes over the next parent element, that is it takes over the position of 2, and then it is fixed. Even if you scroll through the website, it is fixed. Okay, so do you understand what happened? Now here also the same thing happened. We like cut it here, we'll paste it again here, and we'll save it. Again here also what happened was all of the other 2, they disappeared because first absolute positioning came into place, and then only 3 was there, the other 2 went away, and then only 3 was fixed. But again if we add, let's say position fixed to all 3 of them, let's see what happens if we add it to all 3 of them, and let's save it. Let's open Chrome. The same thing happens when we added it to the complete block. Okay, now you can see 2 is there if we added position fixed to both of them. Now if we remove it from one and save it, now you can see none of them work because the code broke. Okay, the bracket here is gone, that's why, sorry. Yeah, now it has taken over the position of 3 and now 2 is fixed. So you can again play around, try it out for yourself. Until unless you try it, you won't understand any of these properties, because this is the limited type of examples that I can give. I can even show and create a nav bar if you guys want me to you can create a navigation bar and show you how it is done, how to get it fixed and everything else. But this is the only thing that I can do right now in this short span of period, is tell you what these properties actually do so that you can practice it yourself. Moving on to the last property that we have is called as sticky. So sticky position is really very different and it is very unique. A sticky element will just sit there like in static element, but if you scroll past one point and if the parent element has room, it will behave as if it was fixed, okay, until that parent element is out of room. So let's see what I actually mean by this, because until you understand what it actually means, it is very difficult to get past any of these positioning properties. So now the property that we'll see is called as sticky. Before moving to sticky, let's check if our code is back to normal. We'll save it, and yeah, now it is back to normal. Now what we'll do is we'll go to this block 1 and let's add it position of, let's say, sticky. Let's save it. Go to Chrome. There's no change now because we have attributes to add. Now let's add attribute, let's say top 50px, and let's save it. Now you can see as soon as I move down, you can see it is fixed. After a certain point, when the parent element has gone to 50px, it is fixed. And unlike fixed, which takes over this element, now if I add fixed here, I want to make this one fixed. If I added position of fixed, you can see that it used to take over this two, it used to overlap it, and then one used to be fixed. But sticky, after some point, we have added top of 50px. So when it moves 50px to the bottom part, it will start behaving as a fixed element. Okay, until unless you move down 50px, it will stay static. Change the value to, let's say, 100px. Let's see what happens. Now you can see 100, it is already moved down a little bit, and if we scroll past that, it will become sticky. Okay, so these were the 5 properties that we saw. The first one that we saw was static, then we saw relative, absolute, fixed, and the last one was sticky. So there are many examples that you can actually practice, you can actually do to understand these concepts in a more interesting and an advanced way. You can try, the best way I would suggest is you can either do by this way, or you can create a simple landing page where you have navigation bar and a little bit of text in the header section. You can have a, just a single page landing page, and you can try all of these positioning properties on that landing page so that you can get a broader and a more better view of how this positioning properties work. So this much was it for this video. If you guys have any doubts regarding any of the concepts I just explained, so don't forget to mention your doubts in the comment section. Also, if you guys found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because many people don't subscribe, they just watch the video. That is not helpful to me at all. Also, like the channel, and if you guys want the code for this video that I have typed out, the complete code, so make sure you comment. I'll create a group where I'll share all of this code, that it will be helpful for you to practice all of this code that I have taught in this video, so that you can code along. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next video.